Now, people, attorney at law Dr. Dexter Todd declares that Adriana Younge investigation is a complete setup for a failed case. Speaking on Nation Watch, Todd explains how the Guyana Police Force initially missteps, including lack of crime scene preservation, absence of a forensic pathologist, and zero command coordination, led to contamination and public mistrust. He points to the failure to apply even basic forensic protocol as proof the case was never treated seriously, calling it a national disgrace. So, as I said before, he was speaking on Nation Watch with host Mervyn Williams and guest retired Assistant Commissioner of Police Paul Slow, and the subject was about Adriana Younge death. So please give a listening ear and leave your thoughts in the comment section. And remember, people, each to his own. If somebody says something you don't like, you don't have to bash that person because everybody think different. The world is big and everybody not gonna say the same thing. People are gonna say different things from what you feel like say yes is right. Seeing and you say something you feel like say right, the other person just the same say something where he or she feel like is right. So don't bash anybody if them say something that you don't like, as long as them not trace you or come at you, don't, right? So just listen.
The police show up. The family members ask the police for assistance in searching the premises to locate this child. The feedback we got is that persons were denied access to the building, and the police decided to maintain a presence which persons present at the location felt was a posture to protect the building and to protect those who operated from within the building. The police say that the pool was searched in the afternoon. They say the pool was searched in the night. There's video footage available to show that the pool was clear. There was no person or any other object present in the pool, according to the video footage. The deepest part of the pool is 8 feet. The water is clear. The tiles appear to be blue, giving the water the appearance of being blue. You saw in the video clearly there was nothing at the bottom. But by the morning of the next day, while people kept vigil outside, while people prevented vehicles from exiting the premises, on the morning of the following day, the body of 11-year-old Adriana Younge was seen floating in the pool with cotton balls stuffed in both nostrils. Mr. Slow, tell us a bit about police response to matters such as these and police response to this particular matter, and help us understand what may have gone wrong in terms of crime scene management.
Well, let me say that everything went wrong in terms of crime scene management because let's understand, you have a report of a missing person. This is not a regular missing person report, because the regular missing person report, someone will come to say that Mary Smith or Ari or someone was missing and they don't know where they were. They might even give you the information as to where they were last seen, what color clothes they were wearing, a description, a general description. That's a routine regular missing person. This was not a routine regular missing person report, because the child was at a particular location at a particular time, and the suspicion at the time of receiving the report, or the suspicion the time the report was being made, is that this child was still on the premises. I say that as a beginning to say, therefore, the routine action that the police would have taken in a regular missing person report could not have, should not have been taken in this matter. It required an immediate galvanizing of resources to search that place. It also required, and I think this is one of the egregious things too, you don't know what has happened to the child. You don't know who is the suspect, if any foul play. So therefore, everyone has to be a suspect at that point. No one should be allowed to leave. No one should, no one should be able to enter. No one should be allowed to leave. You have to immediately adopt a posture to make sure that that place is secured. No one is allowed to leave while you mobilize the search. Because I suspect, let's be fair to the police. I'm trying to be fair to the police. Wherever they said the report was made at Tushan police station, they would not have had the resources there to do a comprehensive search. Let me be fair and understand that. So you have to have those people who would have responded have to be instructed to secure the premises until such time that additional resources from the division are garnered to do a comprehensive search. That was not done. It is clear that that was not done. So that is number one. No proper search. The place was not secured. We understand up to the like today, that place is not secured and treated as a crime scene, right? So that is a problem. The action of the police in receiving this report, because again, I suspect that what should have happened is that the commander would have been informed. The message would have gone up the chain. Commander, we have this missing person. Somebody saying that the child is still in the hotel. And the police commander has to then take control of and give directions as to what should happen. He has the authority to gather resources from within the division, and if they are overwhelmed, from outside the division. He relates to his seniors, given the seriousness of this, and they pull resources together to conduct a search in the first place, because that is what it's a missing person. You don't know if a crime has been committed initially, but you have to get into the posture where you are searching this building, and I suspect a hotel get as many rooms and so on. So you're going to be searching for this missing person. And again, I say no one should be allowed to leave. Once initially this child was not found, then you have to escalate the process. You have to maintain again that no one leaves that premises. And when you got your resources, you have to go through the process of start getting information of who are the people who are there, where last she was seen, because each and every individual in that premises would have had to be questioned to determine who may have last seen her, where they would have seen her, and the like. And then a red flag too, a red flag as a police investigator, as a senior police command. I want to see the video recording. I want to see the CCTV footage. Oh, the CCTV cameras are not working. That should have aroused suspicion immediately. How do you have a facility like that where all these people are and something has happened and you're saying that the CCTV cameras are not working? Red flag, which should have caused you to be even more suspicious and even more determined to make sure that the proper search was done. So I leave it there for now.
I want to stick with you on one smaller point here, please, Mr. Slow. The CCTV cameras were not working. However, a subsequent social media expose brought out information suggesting that someone had removed cash from the premises and was caught on camera. This is after the problem started and the fire started.
I saw that. So I suspect what you're saying, that it wasn't working at that particular time, but somehow they were able to get it working to discover that theft of. Yeah, so all of that leads to serious questions. And again, I say, this all came about because the police did not take the necessary action from the beginning. That is it. That is the issue. I know the sad part of, up to now, we do not know what time this child, the time of death. We know from information that the child might have been around there up to about 2 o'clock, I think, or something like that. And then, so you don't know the time of death. And I'm saying, therefore, that all the time the police failed to search when they were responding, the child could have been alive.
Very well have been alive.
Proper action by the police might have led to the discovery of this person alive. So all these are factors to be taken into consideration.
Which brings me to Dr. Todd's area. Dr. Todd, when this child's body was lifted out of that pool by her father, the video we saw was the video of a child whose body apparently had started to suffer the effects of rigor mortis. She did not look as limp as somebody who was just injured or died. And we saw clearly, not froth, or froth as we say, but cotton balls stuffed in both her nostrils. The body was removed. There was no preservation of the pool area. There was no report of samples of water being taken from the pool. There was no evidence of any gathering of any forensic evidence whatsoever. Help us understand what ought to have been done and how that would have helped investigators in this matter, prosecutors in this matter, going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Now, I believe falling back on what Mr. Slow said was important, how the investigators treated the report in the first place. We have gone past that and we've gone to the stage now where you have found a body. Now that body ought to not have been removed by any person but a crime scene investigator. That entire scene, all the persons there ought to be allowed not to move, not to remove anything, not to be touching of the body, not to touch the decomposed body, not to do anything. And then photographs ought to be taken immediately of the exact state in which you found the body before it was removed. And I believe that is where you have this contention coming up now of where some are saying there was cotton wool stuck in the nostrils of the child, and then others are saying no, it was frothed, and so you have that discrepancy now, and so who is now going to be able to determine that discrepancy? The police, if they had taken the steps initially in the correct format. Now, if you look throughout the videos, there is absolutely no crime scene rank dressed for a crime scene on that scene. All the videos that you're seeing, there is absolutely no preservation. Now in the video you see persons are pelting at the building with chairs. All of that should not have happened because immediately there is a body. So you are looking at one of the crime scenes. Remember, we are not sure if that alone is the crime scene because the crime scene could have started somewhere else. The crime scene could have been several other places which the crime occurred before it got to the pool. So you don't want to disrupt anything now. All those persons that you're seeing on the crime scene, immediately, that should have been curtailed. That should have been curtailed. Those persons should have been allowed to move back. That entire environment should have been cordoned off so that there is preservation, because the thing about forensic investigation is that you have to be able to preserve the crime scene. If you don't preserve the crime scene, you contaminate potential evidence that you can live, potential samples that can be important for determination, having completed forensic tests. So really and truly, what you're seeing here is a complete, not 90, not 80, 100% complete chaos. And of course, outside of any type of forensic approach. And so immediately, I think the police's posture from the onset started and set the platform for there to be a contamination of the entire case. and contamination of the entire evidence because posture was bad. Even if, I mean, clearly, you don't have, at that time, I don't predict you had a medical doctor to pronounce the child dead. But common sense will tell you, and from your observations, that you cannot remove that body. What should have happened is immediately there should have been a forensic doctor who would visit at that location, and so that important samples are taken at the scene immediately. So this here, what happened, if you look at developed countries, and even look at some of the countries in Africa, you will never see that posture. Because immediately when you're dealing with forensic investigation, you need to, because immediately you have to know who is the head of this of the forensic team, who's heading the forensic investigation, who is giving instructions in relation to other members of the forensic team, who are giving instructions to them. You saw none of that. With all the training that is available to the police force, you see absolutely no operationalizing of that training at all. A complete setup for a failed case. That was a complete setup for a failed case.
I like that point because it reflects the way I see this as a layperson, and it reflects the way many others see it. But putting it together the way you did brings clarity to this. Sorry. Mr. Slow, the police issued a statement. The statement said that there's video evidence of this child entering a motor car, complete with a description of the motor vehicle, make, model, registration number, color, everything, providing a time by which this child supposedly left this location and this vehicle. The police came back later on to say that that statement contained errors. It appears to me that this erroneous and misleading statement is what is responsible more than anything else for the chaos that erupted at Tushen on that day. Some people believe that it was deliberately misleading in order to get persons to focus their attention on the west bank of the Demerara. Some people believe that it was blatant incompetence by the police. The police, for its part, said that this error occurred. Later on, much later on, days later, the police said that it was a civilian employee in the operations room that was responsible. This civilian employee purportedly inserted the wrong date into the search system and allegedly came up with what he or she came up with. Is it a case of incompetence, or is it a case of calculated conduct aiming at cover-up? Mr. Slow, your take.
Yeah, thanks. Let me say this. Let me go back a little to the time the body was discovered, as explained by Dr. Todd. Now, and again, I want to try my best to give the police whatever little leeway might be available. First of all, as we said, they did not secure the place, right? So everybody had access. At the time when this body was seen in the pool, everyone also had access. Now, I don't think we can fault the father for jumping into the pool and removing the body as he did. Can't fault him, right? The emotion kicked in. That is what he had to do. I say, if the police had taken the correct action, that would not have happened. But from the time that body was removed from the pool, the necessary steps should have been taken to ensure that that body remains there. All those persons should have been removed. You put a cordon around there, and you deal. The people from the photographic branch would have been summoned or should have been summoned to come there and to take photographs close up for our photograph. That is what they're trained to do. And again, if that was done, then you would not have had this question as to whether it was cotton ball or whether it was mucus from the nostrils and all of that. Because I'm sure any competent crime scene photographer would have ensured that all of those things were taken. The discoloration of the skin and all of those things would have been taken. And what is more worrying, perhaps most people are overlooking that. What is more worrying, at that time, when that body was recovered, the divisional commander, Mandel, assistant commissioner, was on the scene, and he failed to take the appropriate action. The divisional commander, the most senior man in the division, was there and did not take action to bring this thing under some type of some semblance of control. Now, to the car. Now, it is my belief, given all that transpired and given the sequence of events, that release about the description of the car, the direction it was heading, and they were positive that it was the girl going into the car. I believe that was deliberately done to get the people away from there. Again, you're taking things in its totality, because even the following day, we learned that they were telling, oh, the girl is seen someplace, in some bus with some man with nothing, right? So it is not a one thing, and therefore to try to lay the blame on some civilian. Let's say again, I want to give them the benefit. A civilian is there, and the civilian might have inputted the wrong date, as they are claiming. What checks and balances you have? What type of checks and balances you have in the system to allow for this information to go public without being properly verified? You cannot excuse that. It is if that is the case, it's an old system failure. And again, the powers that be, because don't forget, they're saying that about the divisional control center, but they also said that the control center in Georgetown confirmed the presence of this car at a particular location on the West Bank. So it's not a one statement. It's several statements made by the police, and therefore, I am of the view that this would have been deliberate. That is my view, given the sequence of events. Again, I emphasize the fact that you had the divisional commander there on the morning of Thursday the 25th, I think it was. So something is definitely wrong. And you can see too, because the very Thursday morning, even the Thursday morning, no control, no attempt to control. So people are leaving. I saw 2 Caucasian men with suitcase, and the civilians out there got to turn them back. I saw a vehicle, what we call a canter truck, attempting to leave. Is a civilian had to tell them don't go back. What was the commander doing? What was he doing there? Just standing up as a normal spectator? I mean, it's a total breakdown.
I can tell you that when I arrived, well, not when I arrived, in my presence, the police vehicle, one of these pickup trucks, was heading towards Reading Hope, having exited the premises. And what appeared to be a body caught my attention, lying on the floor of the vehicle. The divisional commander was standing on the roadway. I inquired of a policeman whether it was a body that was being removed by this vehicle, and I received confirmation. So like you, I was both puzzled and troubled that a motor vehicle, a police service vehicle, was taking away a body, not a horse, and the divisional commander was on the roadway and not at the place where the body was picked up. On the side of forensic evidence, how does that fit, Dr. Todd?
I mean, again, I go back to say, now, the thing about trace evidence is that trace evidence is just what it is. You are able to move evidence from one place to another place to another place. And that is why it is always important when we talk about forensic investigation that persons are always properly dressed, because you are able to bring something to the crime scene which ought not to be there, or which can affect or contaminate the scene, or you're able to take away something vital from the scene to move it to another place, which again brings discrepancies later down. So when we're talking about removal of the body, it is important that a crime scene investigator takes control of that, because the normal way in which you will remove the body will not be the same type. Let's say if someone dies, report that the person died in the hospital, or that the person died under medical observation. It's different how you remove the body. You wrap the body, and then you take the body by way of horse. But when you're dealing with an alleged homicide, it is completely different as to how you package and wrap that body, because what you want to do is immediately preserve anything that you can forensically remove from the body, which will be able to tell you a story. So clothing is important. What you're able to lift. So it is not just wrapping and putting, and then you're talking about what is transporting this body. You can't just wrap the body. I'm
In a
not too sure
sheet.
what in in
In a
in a
sheet.
sheet. Worst. Any forensic trained person will tell you that is not how you're going to wrap. I can't believe Guyana doesn't have, for a scene like this, doesn't have a crime scene bag to put the a forensic bag to put the body in. You can't move it cloth. Listen. It is, when I was traveling back just the other day, I tell you, and I'm using this as an example. I passed through the UK and I stopped in Birmingham. And just outside of my hotel, someone died. Could be the heat or so. I'm not too sure. I didn't follow up with the case. But let me tell you, no one, including me, was able to come out, to exit out of that hotel. No one was able to come up the road. The entire street was cordoned off. And if and it was just of course mind blowing to see how they were lifting the body. The crime scene ranks were dressed from head to toe, dressed with their hazmat suits, shoes covered. You don't go bare feet or go with your bare shoe, covered right through, gloves, everything. And how they were wrapping the body. Now, of course, they were medical experts on the ground, on the ground. Because one of the things that you can't do, I mean, yes, we are not trained doctors, so we are not able to pronounce that someone died. Of course, we can use our observation and see and form a particular opinion that is safe. But I can tell you, one of the important steps that you need to use immediately is to revive. If you can't revive, you have to go to the second stage, contain. You have to contain. So when you are containing now, and under contain, you have all elements in terms of preservation, etc. You have to contain every single thing in that body that can potentially be lifted to be able to give you a particular story as to what really happened. So just wrapping up the body and putting the body in a vehicle and then just moving that vehicle, and then each step that you take must be documented. So from the time you pick up the body, it has to be documented. From the time the body is wrapped, it has to be documented. And when I'm talking about documented, I'm not talking about writing, I'm talking about photographing of each and every step. And the person who is doing that, from the time the person goes into the wrapped and goes into a vehicle, that is also documented. Because that helps you when you are beginning to do your forensic analysis in terms of your preservation, to make sure that there has been no contamination and there has been no misstep that can lead to a false conclusion at the end of a forensic investigation.
Mr. Slow, video evidence on social media showed us, the citizens of this country and this world, that a serving policeman was seen with trousers wet from the knees down, following the discovery of the body. Video footage showed us the same serving policeman standing on a stairway. Behind him, smoke started to billow out of the building from behind and above him. A serving policeman was standing there. There was pandemonium at the poolside where the body was lying. There was smoke billowing from behind him. And he stood there as serving policeman. And coming out of that and all that we've discussed so far, we heard that 3 police officers, 3 police ranks were placed under close arrest. We learned from no less a person than the president himself that the divisional commander was transferred and then sent on administrative leave. To this day, we do not know the identity of the 3 ranks who were under close arrest. We don't know if they're still under close arrest. And we don't know what departmental or other breaches they are alleged to have committed, resulting in them being placed under close arrest. Talk to us, Mr. Slow, about this particular set of events.
Yes, let me say this. I saw the video because I suspect almost every single Guyanese with a phone or access to the internet would have seen the video or some of those videos that you referenced. Not only was this person, I don't know the person, they claim that he's a policeman, so I defer to that, standing on the veranda. And I think what you failed to mention is that the video first showed that he went into the very room.
Yes.
And at the time when he went there, there was no evidence of any smoke or any fire. But shortly after he exited,
but he was on his knees by some bedside or the other. So
smoke started to billow from that particular room. And then he was so casual as he came and he came down the steps and all this. It leads to a lot of suspicion. It leads to a lot of suspicion. And then the release that 3 persons were placed under close arrest. Up to now, they have not said who those persons were, which again leads to a lot of suspicion. Then I saw over the past 2 days a report which says that 2 men were relieved of duty, 2 policemen were relieved from their duty, and people conclude, based on the comments, that means they were dismissed. I am not too sure about that. The word dismissed was never used. They say they were relieved. That can mean a lot of things. And I know my friend, Dr. Todd, will, as a lawyer, will be very interested in the language used. They never said they were dismissed. They were relieved of their duty, and they said for neglect. And I pointed out that if it is they are accused of being neglectful, then there is a legal process to be gone through. There is a Police Discipline Act, chapter 17:01, and I know it very well because I taught it and I lectured and I do all of it. I practice it. Section 4E1 of the Police Discipline Act, chapter 17:1, says that if you fail to do anything which is your duty as a member of the force to do, that is a neglect. So, and then there's a process. You have to go through a process and have these people face some type of disciplinary trial if it is a dismissal. So I caution all those who are jumping to say, oh, they read the thing. I think it was in Kaicho News and elsewhere. Policemen relieved of their duty, and they say, well, they said dismissed. But the statement from the police, which I have with me, said that they were relieved of their duty. And we have not heard anything more. Why were they relieved of the duty? What were they accused of? The thing said neglect. What neglect? You can't just say neglect. You got to say in that you failed to do a particular act that you are required to do as your duty. So I am cautioning that when you see these words, and that is why we come and speaking out, and we analyze and we read between the lines. So up to now, we have not heard who these people are. They said 3, and then they spoke about 2 being relieved from duty. What happened to the next man? No one, they're not telling us. I see this is part of the problem in this whole thing. Up to day like today, we had the Linden incident. We had this issue with this young girl. The man in charge of the force, the commissioner of police, has not said a single word. The crime chief has not faced the media to offer any explanation and to say anything about this investigation. And we can recall that the president, the president, I think it was on the night of Thursday or sometime then, he said, and I'm quoting him here, as carried in one of the dailies, I have asked the commissioner of police to assemble a special team to lead the investigation into all the circumstances surrounding 11-year-old Adriana Younge. We must uncover the full truth of everything that transpired, and no resource or effort will be spared in doing so. And that's part of the quotation. A special team, he said, he ordered the commission to assemble. Up to now, we have more than anything further on that. We have not. So you have to, when people are suspicious and make statements that they don't have confidence in the police, is because of all of these things. The commissioner of police has not said a single word. The crime chief has not said a single word. The divisional commander, well, they will say that he was relieved, not a single word. To face people and to say exactly what happened, why it happened, and what we intend to do. Nothing. So speculations run wild all over the place. And they are to be blamed for that. And you know, a thing that we should point out, lest we forget it, that the lack of information or the giving of false information is not an isolated incident. It is not confined to the Adriana Younge's death. They have been doing so for some time, and I've been calling it out. And it leads to the situation, the position now where people lack confidence in the police. People, when a release is given, people don't believe what they're saying because people say that these people are lying. You have incidents they report on. They give a particular narrative. Shortly after, video evidence come to light to contradict what they're saying. So the credibility gone. The same killing in Linden, the policemen were all dressed in uniform when they went to apprehend that. And the very night, the video surfaced with the sergeant coming out in a white t-shirt. That's not, maybe they want to call that uniform, but it's not uniform. A white, and I'm saying because of these frequent statements, lying statements, as you would say, whenever, and I suspect that at some time they're going to come with something which is factual and truthful, but because of their reputation, no one will tend to believe, and therein lies the major problem.
Well, you know, there's a very unfortunate comment that just popped up where somebody named Karaya is asking us to stop discussing this little angel and let her soul rest in peace. Well, you know, Pamela Correa may not be a mother, and Pamela Correa may not be a resident of this cooperative Republic of Guyana, because this is bigger than Adriana. This is a classic case of a failed society, where the society has failed and continues to fail our children and our women, and where the police force, politicized as it is, continues to fail the citizens of this country. And that, Pamela Correa, is the big issue. But there's a bigger issue than that as well. The issue of an incompetent regime that has deliberately politicized the Guyana Police Force, that has deliberately done things to make the lives of citizens untenable in this country, that deliberately enriches the 1% and suffers the majority, that discriminates against the citizens of this country along ethnic and political lines, that suppresses, persecutes, and prosecutes people that they perceive to be opponents of the government or the governing party, the People's Progressive Party. That, Pamela Correa, is the problem in this country. And it is bigger than you. It is bigger than me. It is bigger than all of us. And this tragedy involving this little child has brought to the fore all of those issues that affect us as a nation, Pamela Correa.